I'm grateful for this opportunity to help celebrate the achievements of UVA faculty who lead our study abroad programs. The faculty members who are being honored this afternoon come from a broad range of academic disciplines, and their programs come from a broad range of nations around the world: Argentina, the Bahamas, China, France, Germany, Ghana, Guatemala, India, Italy, Jordan, Morocco, Russia, and South Africa, just to name a few. Some of the faculty members have been leading study abroad programs for a very long time: 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and some even longer. You'll hear more from Jeff LeGros about our faculty honorees after my remarks. But I want you to know that I'm grateful to all of you for the work you do to take our students abroad and to lead programs that prepare them to be engaged with the world. Today is the first day of International Education Week 2012, promoted through a joint initiative of the U.S. Department of State and the U.S. Department of Education. This specially designated week directs national focus to the need to prepare American students for the global economy and to attract the best and brightest students and scholars from other nations to the United States. I want to thank the staff of our International Studies Office and their colleagues who have developed the programs for the week. International Education Week is a fine way to focus our attention, but the global perspective has become so pervasive that it already permeates most of our nation's universities, even without a special week to promote it. Carl Zeithamel, the dean of the McIntire School, likes to say that the term global business is redundant. He means all business is global now. Same is true for higher education. All universities are global now, or they should be if they want to remain relevant. The interconnectedness of nations and economies demands that we prepare students for work, life, and leadership on a global scale. If you were at the fall convocation a couple of weeks ago, you heard Provost John Simon talk about our students as global citizens. We use that term a lot, but what does it really mean? Here's one definition. Last month, I met with UVA's Young Alumni Council, which is the group that represents alumni who have taken their degrees within the past 12 years. One young woman, a 2005 graduate, had just traveled 8,000 miles from New York to Johannesburg. This woman works as a director of teaching and learning at the Relay Graduate School of Education in New York City. She teaches teachers in the U.S. and around the world. She had gone to Johannesburg to train teachers in a network of township schools. She will be leading another professional development series in South Africa in 2013, and between those in-person visits, she consults with the school leaders via Skype. When we talk about preparing our students to be global citizens, this is the kind of global citizenship we mean. Being a university president has become a global job too. Last spring, I traveled to Asia for events with alumni, parents, and students in Beijing, Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Singapore. Today, I did an interview about Thomas Jefferson and the university with China Central TV. Tomorrow, I travel to Germany to deliver a speech to the League of European Research Universities, which is a consortium of top research universities there, the European counterpart of our American Association of Universities, or AAU. The leaders of these universities invited me to come and talk to them about the fate of research universities in the United States. Why? Because their concerns are the same in many ways as our concerns. We share common goals, but we also share common challenges. We're all part of the community of global universities. Today, I will talk about our aspirations to make UVA a truly global university in every sense of the term and what that means. But before going any further, I should acknowledge that UVA already is a global university in many respects. And so when I talk about becoming a global university, what I really mean is becoming more global. Back in 1990, UVA had fewer than 10 faculty-led study abroad programs, and even fewer exchange agreements. Today, we have more than 50 UVA-managed study abroad programs, including the year-round flagship program in Valencia, Spain, and Lyon, France, and we have reciprocal student exchange agreements with more than 80 universities. Much of the growth in global programs stemmed from the Virginia 2020 plan several years ago. Other initiatives that emerged from the Virginia 2020 plan were the International Residential College, the Center for American English Language and Culture, the Shea House, which is a language house for students who study the less commonly taught languages, and the Vice Provost for Global Affairs position, now occupied by Jeff LeGros. These success stories should give us confidence as we undertake a new strategic planning effort this fall. At the same time our strategic planning begins, we have a committee looking at degree options for global studies. These efforts give us a new opportunity to define UVA's global identity and to describe our global aspirations. As we work together towards this goal of becoming more global, we work within a tradition that dates back to our founder. Thomas Jefferson was a global thinker, and he was an actor on the global stage for much of his adult life. Many of his ideas about politics, economics, architecture, horticulture, and other fields were formed through comparative study based on his experiences abroad and his interactions with foreign cultures. Even 200 years ago, he understood that America's preeminence was a matter of global context. Let me share a story that illustrates this point. In the years following the Revolutionary War, the new American Republic was still perceived by many Europeans as inferior to the old world. America, they believed, was a swampy backwater that produced weak, feeble species of vegetation, animals, and human beings. And any living thing transported from Europe to America would also become weak and feeble. This view became known as the theory of American degeneracy. And its chief opponent was a French naturalist with the extravagant name Georges-Louis Leclerc, Comte de Buffon. He wrote several volumes of natural history promoting the degeneracy theory. Thomas Jefferson didn't like this one bit, and he decided to make the anti-degeneracy campaign his personal mission. In his book, Notes on the State of Virginia, Jefferson compiled myriad tables and charts showing how various species of North American animals compared favorably with those in Europe. At some point, he became fixated on the American moose as the ultimate proof of supremacy. He had seen a moose skeleton that stood 7 feet tall, and he believed they grew even larger. So in January of 1786, he wrote to a friend in New Hampshire, asking him to hunt, kill, and stuff the biggest moose he could find and ship it to Paris. Unfortunately, the moose did not travel well. Most of its hair fell out during the trip across the Atlantic, and its antlers fell off and had to be replaced with the antlers from a different moose. In spite of all this, when the moose finally arrived in Paris, the Comte de Buffon acknowledged that it was indeed superior to its European counterpart. This story gets a little silly towards the end, but it illustrates a serious point. At the time he sent for the moose, Jefferson was serving as the U.S. Minister to France. He was responsible for promoting American commerce and for negotiating commercial treaties in Europe. This was 1786, just 10 years after the signing of the Declaration of Independence and 3 years after the ending of the Revolutionary War, and the survival of the young nation was by no means assured at this point. Jefferson knew that the American Republic would need to project a positive image on the world stage, an image of strength and stability that would encourage immigration and commerce. The degeneracy theory threatened America's global competitiveness, so Jefferson went to great expense and personal effort to disprove it. Today we see evidence of Jefferson's global perspective throughout our university. Walk outside to the lawn and you will see the influences of Italian, Greek, French, and other cultures in the architecture of the academical village. And of course, we see another side of our global legacy in these original buildings, because African American slaves helped construct these buildings and served in other ways in the early days of the university. In fact, new grave sites discovered just last week near the UVA cemetery contain archival evidence suggesting that they might be the graves of enslaved African Americans. This too is part of our legacy. Jefferson's global perspective extended to the university's faculty. When he was recruiting the first faculty to teach here, he looked beyond American shores to recruit professors from other countries. Today, we have about 160 faculty members from foreign nations, or about 10% of our total faculty. We recruited these faculty for the same reason that Jefferson recruited some of the university's first faculty from other nations, because they are the best available in the world. UVA as a global university is not a modern phenomenon. We're continuing a tradition of attentiveness to the world that began 200 years ago. And our founder offers us a model for global awareness and global engagement. We want to extend that model into the 21st century through initiatives that span global teaching, research, and service. The late American short story writer Raymond Carver published a collection of stories in the 1980s titled, "What We Talk About When We Talk About Love." The title was meant to suggest that the true nature of love remains elusive despite our best efforts to describe it. Likewise, one of the challenges to becoming a truly global university is defining what we mean by global. So let's create a working definition to help us on our way. In a truly global university, global perspectives should be integrated into every facet of the core mission activities of teaching, research, and service. This means having a culture among students, faculty, and administrators that embraces global research, learning, and outreach as central proponents of our mission. To help with this effort, we have a committee working now to develop new ways to improve global content in the student and faculty experience, from start to finish, beginning with UVA tours and student orientation, and continuing through to career counseling and the alumni experience. Students are our first concern. At UVA, we want all of our students to have rich international experiences. This means education abroad, semester at sea, and other programs that take our students into the world. It also means bringing the world to Charlottesville by attracting students and scholars from other nations to come here. And it means constantly reinventing our curriculum to develop new learning opportunities with global perspectives, including majors, minors, and international research and service projects. I have seen this in the course of my own career in a textbook I have on the sociology of work. It remains the best-selling textbook in the field, but it's in its 6th edition. And what has happened with each edition has been that more international content has found its way into the pages of the book. Not just because there is important research being done on this subject in other countries, but because the nature of the work experience has changed so much from the time the first edition of this book was published. At that time, to work for an American company might mean never leaving the boundaries of the United States. Today, to work for an American company may well mean that you spend a good part of your life stationed abroad or working with work groups that meet on Skype from around the world. And in other ways, being concerned with supply chains and customers who are no longer inside the boundaries of the United States. We want to infuse the entire curriculum with comparative and international content. To help achieve this, the Provost has commissioned a committee with university-wide representation to create a Global Studies BA, MA, and Executive Certificate. We're encouraging our faculty to add a comparative global perspective to courses that don't have that dimension now, and we're offering funding to support that effort. We also want our faculty members to collaborate with colleagues outside the U.S. to generate knowledge and make discoveries that benefit people around the world. We have strong assets to help us with this. Not only do we have the example of our founder, Thomas Jefferson, but we are the school of Simón Bolívar. One of our early graduates went on to found Tsinghua University in Beijing. We're close to the diplomatic community in Washington, and we're fortunate to enroll many children of that diplomatic community in our courses. All of these are assets that we can build upon as we look for places to have UVA become better known around the world. To become more global, we want to identify areas of excellence in global research, and we want to reinforce them. We cannot do everything well, but we can build on areas of excellence, and these areas frequently cross schools. Consider, for example, the Center for Global Health, which works with various schools to explore the sources of disease and poverty and find ways to mitigate them. CGH is a major source of funding for the university, and it affects hundreds of our faculty and students. CGH-affiliated faculty now have more than $60 million in funded grants from federal and foundation sources. This represents over $12 million in annual grant funding this year alone. In the past decade, CGH has issued 237 Scholar Awards to students in the college, engineering, and the School of Medicine. This is a great success, and it's another outcome of our planning in Virginia 2020. If you followed the Board of Visitors meeting last week, you know that we expect to do significant hiring of new faculty in the next 5 to 7 years. One way to approach this hiring is to make cluster hires across disciplines and across schools in areas of distinction that would allow us to have global impact. Increasing the number of our students who study abroad is another priority. In the 2011-12 academic year, over 1,300 of our undergraduates and nearly 600 of our graduate students participated in education abroad, and many did so during J-term or summer programs. We want to motivate the majority of our students to study abroad. We know that longer programs have greater payoff for students. One survey by Semester at Sea showed that 97% of the students considered their semester abroad their most meaningful semester in college. And control studies of students have shown that those who have studied abroad outperform their peers in creative, complex, and analytical thought. Students who study abroad not only learn about the world, they learn to become better thinkers. And just as we want more of our students to go abroad, we want to encourage students from other nations to come here. More and more international students are applying to come to UVA. We've seen a 60% increase in applications over the last 3 years, fueled largely by increasing applications from Chinese students. As more foreign students come here to study and then return home to their home nations, and as more and more of our U.S. graduates move abroad to live and work, the global network of UVA alumni and friends will continue to expand and strengthen. And this, in turn, will enhance the global personality of UVA. International partnerships are an essential part of our plan to be a truly global university. In recent years, we've developed a number of new partnerships. Some of our more important partners now include Sciences Po in Paris and Lyon, the University of Lyon II, Peking University, the University of St. Andrews, Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, Fudan University, the University of Venda, the University of Stuttgart, the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, the Indian School of Business, and the University of Melbourne. Many of our partnerships include exchanges of students and faculty, but some of the recent partnerships are purely virtual, and we expect this to be a growing element of our global effort. Here's one example. This fall, 48 students from across Virginia and Germany are logging on to an interactive website that uses lessons from Japan's devastating earthquake and tsunami to understand the global implications of engineering. The students are taking part in a joint online course offered by UVA and TU Dortmund University in Germany Teachers and students use headphones, mics, and cameras to communicate with one another twice a week in an online environment. With this kind of collaborative global learning, physical distance is irrelevant. Being truly global also means having an online presence that can reach people everywhere. Our partnership with Coursera is allowing us to offer 6 UVA courses to anyone, anywhere in the world in 2013. So far, more than 127,000 people have registered for these courses. And you can register at www.coursera.org. The Coursera experiment will allow people all over the world to learn from UVA and to learn about UVA. It extends our teaching to every corner of the planet and helps build our global brand. A successful global university also needs to have a mobilized and well-connected network of alumni, parents, and friends around the world. When I traveled to Asia last spring, I saw firsthand that the UVA family is a truly global family. Our alumni and friends in Hong Kong and Singapore are just as committed to UVA as those in Richmond and Atlanta. Continuing to improve our presence abroad is a priority. In areas where we have significant UVA student and research activity and where we have active alumni and parent networks, we need to find better ways to nurture relationships in those regions. These relationships will help us improve our education and research abroad, create international internships and career opportunities, and attract the very best students and faculty in the world to come to UVA. As a public university in Virginia, our global efforts provide a public service in helping the Commonwealth thrive in a global era. This is a priority for Governor McDonnell. In 2011, he led an economic development marketing mission to Japan, China, and South Korea, and this past summer he traveled to Europe on a similar mission, partially to promote the Commonwealth Center for Advanced Manufacturing, of which UVA is a partner. We can support the state efforts by studying the sources of its competitiveness in an interdependent global era, and we can improve the lives of Virginians by studying how problems like poverty are being addressed overseas, and then using that knowledge to manage the same problems here at home. Let me close with some final thoughts about the wonderful sense of place at UVA and how we might extend the distinctive qualities of this place around the world. We speak here with great fanfare about Thomas Jefferson's academical village, as we rightly should. As the only university in the United States, and one of just 4 in the world, recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the academical village is a source of both pride and inspiration. But it's more than that. It's a physical space that tells the story of how we teach and learn, students and their teachers working side by side in the pursuit of knowledge, and an architecture that enables this shared pursuit. This academical village serves as a source of innovation, creative thought, and social entrepreneurship among students and faculty alike. Thomas Jefferson was a man of his time, and in his time, he conceived and built this academical village as the bulwark of the human mind in this hemisphere. Now in our time, we look beyond the boundaries of the hemisphere and all other borders of geography that have been obliterated by the innovations in travel, communication, and technology. We have the opportunity now to build on what you have accomplished through your study abroad programs, to conceive a global academical village, carries the best qualities of our university to the corners of the world. This might mean creating global pavilions in key regions that extend the model of the academical village into the world. It might mean having multiple outposts abroad with full-time representatives as ambassadors of our commitment. It might mean having spaces in other countries where students and faculty gather for teaching and discussion, perhaps connected to online learning programs. I encourage you to think creatively about the possibilities and share your ideas. I can already tell you about one new program that will debut next summer. The inaugural Jefferson Global Seminars will capitalize on our relationship with Hong Kong University of Science and Technology and Peking University. In these seminars, UVA faculty and HKUST faculty will join forces to create a structured living learning opportunity. It will include 4 weeks in Hong Kong at HKUST and 1 week in Beijing at PKU, with half of the participants from HKUST and half from UVA. This new program will be led by the College of Arts and Sciences in collaboration with the School of Engineering. And it's one way we are expanding the concepts of the academical village on a global scale. We will be looking for more ways to achieve this goal. A truly global university is not single-faceted. We transform our students into global citizens in multiple ways by sending them into the world to study and conduct research, by bringing the world to UVA, by encouraging students to become fluent in foreign languages, by teaching them about the cultures of other countries, by fully integrating global issues into our curriculum and our extracurricular activities. To provide our students with a truly global experience, we need to be working on all these fronts, all at the same time. Many of you here tonight are working on those fronts, and you have been doing this for a long time. I'm grateful for your service to your students and grateful for your service to the university. I applaud your achievements today, and I look forward to applauding your greater successes in the years ahead. And I can assure you that Mr. Jefferson would be very proud of what you do.